sold 11 houses. The next year sold 35, the year after 62, and then we went to 120, and then last year 110. So as a team, so I think we've gone pretty quickly, and now we're trying to fix a lot of things and retool a little bit with this new market that we live in.
Yeah. So Matt, I love your story. I love for everybody on this call to hear this, because you could have made the decision to never go back to real estate and to do something else, but you decided, absolutely, I'm not failing at that, and I'm going to win, and you did it. So I'm sure that there's a lot of people on this call now that they've probably had that feeling of, oh, I should get out, or I should quit. This isn't working. And I think you're very inspirational to everybody, that it's possible, even if you failed first, the next time may be the winner. Mm-hmm. So I love that you shared that story with everybody.
I think so. I think this is one of the businesses where it's really just comes down to you. I mean, you're either going to do it or you're not. And I teach a few classes about lead gen. I love generating business. It's the most favorite thing that I think there is in this business. And you're either going to take the action or not. And a lot of people just go, oh, it's too hard, and they leave. But the reality is a little bit of effort on that alone can solve a whole lot of problems.
Absolutely. So we don't want to dive too deep into the lead gen, but can you just give us like a little high level of what you're talking about in terms of lead gen that you specialize in?
So look, I'm a luxury ambassador for this region, and I love doing that. I'm not solely a luxury agent. We'll sell anything. I'm going to try to not do trailers anymore, because that was not a good experience, but north of that, we'll do pretty much anything. So I'm a big believer in more conversations equals more paychecks. It's just the end of the day, that's what it is. And however you choose to have more conversations and design a life around that, it will work. I mean, it just will. So I think sometimes we overthink what's the perfect letter to send out and what's the perfect postcard to send out. At the end of the day, just do it. And it doesn't matter what you send out. The reality is most people won't look at it anyway, but the one person that does go, you know what, I need to talk to somebody, and I'm going to call this person. A lot of times that's what it is. And we try to be so careful with what we do, instead of just going, you know what, I need to have 500 conversations this month, and I'm going to figure out how to talk to 500 new people this month. So we're actually launching a new kind of contest for our team today that they don't know about yet, but it's 250 prospects in the next 100 days. And a prospect to us is, we know something about them, they want to do something in 12 months, and they're on our list, and that's a prospect. So again, if you can just focus there, it can help a lot.
I love that. And I love how you leave it kind of a little generic, so that it can be what each person is best at. So it doesn't have to be the same. You're not necessarily doing the same thing as the guy down the hall or the guy across the street. You're doing what you're good at and making
Correct.
The most out of that, right? Love that.
Absolutely. Yep.
So let's jump into luxury a little bit, since that's really what our purpose
Sure.
is here. How did you get started in luxury, or when you first started, were you already in luxury?
I grew up in a town where I think my parents, when they sold their house, they sold it for $47,000. I don't have a luxury bone in my body, or at least never did. Nothing fancy was ever a part of my life. That wasn't, I joke that my wife's fancy, and she grew up here. So I'm probably fancier now than I ever have been. But what I always felt that luxury set me apart from everybody else. And my number one thing was, how do I get there? How do I get this logo to be me? And the other logo, that is our company logo, didn't really mean anything to anybody, because nobody knows us, and that's fine, right? We all have our individual logo that we think is super important, but at the end of the day, it's you and the brand you represent, and you need to convince people that you're the main part of that. And so my biggest goal was getting my first luxury listing so I could use that KW luxury logo. I felt that put me on par with everybody else that I was competing against that was already established in that market. Okay. So my biggest thing was just, there was a neighborhood close to me that is where we want to live one day. And I said, I've got to get a listing in there. And so I actually started, I think the best way to start is with expireds. That's just where I think there's the most opportunity. It is the most even playing field. And it really comes down to, are you willing to work harder than the next guy or girl that's trying to get the same listings? And so we started with expireds. The way I started was I put together basically a presentation and a package that was sent out to people when their home went expired. And we kind of said, hey, anything above $1 million to $1.5 million, if we think that it makes sense for us, we want to try to get them a package. And in the beginning, I didn't have much money, so I bought one of those KW luxury video presentations. You've probably seen them.
Yep.
Now we have custom ones that we make we order 100 at a time, and we put our logo on them and my face. But one of those was delivered to us, a seller that had tried to sell and was off the market for about 6 to 8 months. Clearly overpriced, I mean, whatever, like they all are. But I sent a package in the mail. Normally I drop it off, but we sent it in the mail. And for 2 to 3 weeks, I never heard anything from anybody. And then one day I tried to call him and he actually picked up. And I said, hey, I dropped off this package. I just wanted to know if you got it. And he responded and he said, you have my attention. And I went, oh my God, it worked. And so I ended up taking the listing. The irony is I didn't sell it because why? It's incredibly overpriced and it's just a gargantuan house that's just not worth $3 million. But what I realized was that changed the game for me, right? Mm-hmm. That put me actually at a higher level than my competition, not everybody else. So, and I saw somebody ask what's in the package: listing presentation, and again, a video presentation that in the video, it's me talking to them. And it's saying, hey, listen, this is what I do. I'm really good at selling houses and remarketing homes that weren't sold the first time. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Reach out if you're interested. And that's it. So that's kind of where we started. And the next one was kind of the game changer because I had put out another one. And in all honesty, I forgot I even sent it. And this is like, I'm not super organized. So we sent it and you would think that I would be like, okay, there's $100 package sitting on this guy's doorstep and I need to follow up and see where it was. But one day my phone rang and it was this gentleman and he said, hey, I got your package. And he said, I just feel like anybody that puts this much effort into their marketing deserves a phone call. Can you come over tomorrow? And like my head exploded. And I literally was trying to pull up his phone number to match it to a property. And then all of a sudden I went, oh, we did send that package. The irony was it was in the summer and we had put chocolates in it. And by the time he got the package, the chocolate had melted over everything. Don't do chocolate, by the way. So I went, listed his house. His house had been on the market for 18 months with the established lady that's been in the business for 40 years in that market. She's the one that sells those properties and she overpriced it and it sat there for 18 months. And it was a great house. We sold it in 55 days. But by the time he called me, he was willing to listen. And he said, I thought she overpriced it. What do you think? And I said 2.85. And he said, I 100% agree with you. We went to market. We had 2 competing offers and we sold it in 55 days. And so that's kind of how we started. And, now, again, our team sells everything. So we're not a team that is solely luxury specific. I don't know that I want to be completely honest with you. There are some markets where being 2 million, 3 million plus, and that's really where you live, you can do really well. My market, to be honest, 700 to 900 is where we live. We love the $1 million to $2 million range. That's like our sweet spot. 3 million and up can be challenging. They're most of the time they're overpriced. Most of the time they're difficult because they're just generally overvalued by the owners, and it takes a lot to get them down to where it makes sense to buy the house. So we have a 6.5 million and a 7.5 million right now, and both of them are challenging properties with very specific buyers. So it's not a world that I want to solely live in because let's be honest, having $27 million listings sitting on the market does not help you live and survive. So anyway.
So Matt, do you do different things from a marketing standpoint in general for your luxury versus non-luxury? For example, do you use the luxury signage from KW for luxury, or do you use your regular signs for everything?
Yeah, so our signs are all black anyway. Our team logo is our That's our logo, but like literally our signs are black with the white logo, nice and big, they stand out. But what we did right away, yes, was that anything in the luxury price point for us gets a KW luxury sign. And you know how the logo, you can actually put your own name in it now. So
Yep.
the international is gone. We don't use that anymore. But KW and then luxury, and then we put under it the ML Real Estate Group. So that is our luxury brand. And we use that for anything over $1 million that we believe is a luxury property.
Great. And do you feel like it does make a difference for people? Like, do the sellers appreciate that? Or like, what do you feel is the value in that signage?
I think sellers, if you have some value that you can bring, sellers will kind of go with you. And what I like to tell people is, look, you have a luxury home, let's brand you that way. And you're a little special. Like, you get a different marketing package, you get different presentation, you get a little bit more from us, right? Our video is not a normal elevator music fly through video. There's more to it when we're marketing your property. So we treat it that way. And it works, I think. I think that they view it as a step up.
Got it. So that's actually one of the things that you're selling at the listing presentation when you're sitting with somebody, trying to differentiate yourself.
I lead with it. I go, hey, Keller Williams Luxury sells more luxury properties than any company on the planet. And don't let anybody tell you different than that, because they're wrong. And we go through that. And then I go, oh, and by the way, the sign outside is going to be a Keller Williams Luxury specific sign for your property. Is it a deal maker? No, but does it maybe push that extra 5% where they go, you know what? It's one more checkbox where we feel like we're getting a little bit more from this person than maybe the other person that we had or that we've talked to.
Absolutely. Because a lot of times they are, you can go on a listing appointment and it's two great agents competing with each other. So it can come down to those little teeny tiny things that, just impresses somebody.
Yep.
And you just don't know what that's going to be from day to day.
Correct.
Love that. How about events? Do you do any kind of events for your luxury clients?
Really depends. So the two properties that we have right now, they're both actually off the market for the holidays, and they're kind of coming back on here in the next month or so. But that north of 5 million range, we believe that the biggest challenge is getting people in the door, especially if it's a challenging property. The irony is, big properties like that, you think everybody and their cousin wants to come see it. There's a stigma around them that you're not even allowed to go see them. And most agents don't have that buyer, right? They just don't. I mean, let's be honest. So what we did on both of those, we work with I think you have it too, the Real Producers magazine.
Yep.
We have the Nova Real Producers here, and Kristen, who's the owner of the franchise here, is fantastic and a good friend of mine. And she puts on events. And so I called them, and they actually had been looking to do their casino night, and they want a big listing to do it at. And so I called them right away on one of them, and I said, listen, I've got a 15,000 square foot property with 4,000 square foot of deck space. Let's do it. And so the nice thing about that was, one, I didn't have to pay for the event. I mean, that was probably a $10,000 evening, and it wasn't on my cost, right? So now I can put a little bit more money into marketing the property. So we did that. On the next one, we did the same type of thing. They were having like a magazine launch party, and I said, hey, host it at this one. It has an amazing view. We'll have the sunset. And so right there, each of those events would bring in 100 something brokers that are all in like the top 500 of this range, well, of our area. So if you're going to bring in agents, you might as well go after the top 500 that are doing the majority of the business, right? So we try to do that. Brokers opens to me typically never work. Again, you get people that just want to come and get free lunch. That's not what we're trying to do. So we try to do events where it brings people to the property to enjoy the lifestyle of the property, and hopefully that helps with setting the scene a little bit.
Matt, I love that. That's really thinking outside of the box.
Got to.
I love it. I love it. Do you do staging for your luxury properties?
Sometimes. So I haven't gotten there on the bigger ones that we've had, and there's a couple reasons. When you have sellers living in the house, it's an entirely different conversation. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they're just not open to it. And not only are they not open to it, but when you're talking about 15,000 square feet, you think about the expense in that. Ultimately, I believe staging works. I do. I also feel as though when you have properties that are in certain price points, there's a reality to what the staging is really going to do to help you sell that property. If you're if you're $100,000 overpriced, that's one thing. If you're $1 million or $2 million overpriced or whatever, or you literally just have a unicorn of a property, I don't know that the staging is going to really help sell it. That's just my personal opinion. But so, and again, there are some people that will tell me I'm wrong. I just kind of where I view it, and I'm thinking about specific properties that we've worked with. Model homes, it's a different conversation.
Yep, and I agree with you. That's kind of how we operate here as well. We focus more on, let's just clean it up, let's declutter, and make sure that there's no mold anywhere, things like that. We focus more on that than on actual staging as well. So I think we're on the same planet with that.
Yep.
Yeah. How about gifting to your clients? Do you do much gifting to your luxury specific clients?
Yeah, and I know you and I had talked about, I think Brady's surprise and delight type setup, right? So I'll tell you that it's something we're working on. I'm trying to incorporate a luxury feel to all of our clients. People are people, and I don't know that they should be treated differently because they have more money. They already get treated differently, right? So I think there's pieces of that, and Brady's system is fantastic. And I don't know all of it. I know kind of the beginning of it, but we're doing more touches now than we ever have before. Little things. We go to a listing appointment, even if they don't sign right away, that next, either that night after I leave or the next morning, they get some cookies from us that get delivered warm on their doorstep. Flowers to people that have kind of gone under contract. Or have maybe signed a buyer agreement with us. If they've gone out and seen properties with us the next day, they get something from us. So we're trying to add touches along the way. But gifting, so I was asked this question in a luxury mastermind I held last week, and it was in person. And they said, well, what's a great closing gift for your luxury clients? And my response was, how am I supposed to answer that? I don't know your clients. To one person, a basket with your tumbler and a bottle of wine is amazing. To the next person, that would be the worst possible thing you could give them, right? And maybe in luxury, we're looking at more experiences. I think that's what people want more in general. So maybe you can find ways to add experiences into what you're giving people. But I don't know that there's a huge difference in terms of the gifts that we're providing at one level versus another.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that what you're saying. I know one of the last people that I interviewed, that's what he does. He does a lot of taking people to dinner, doing more personal one-on-one small group things, more of actual relationship building than dropping off gifts or giving a gift. The gift really is his time and spending time with him. The question is, how do we slow down to speed up to do that, right?
And listen, there are people that if you ask your clients the right question, they'll tell you who they are and what they like.
Right.
And I'm not great at listening. I'm not, but I try to get my team to, because it's important. You and me and everybody on this call, we're all totally different people. And there are just things that are hot buttons to us, and you can make such an impact by paying attention, everybody on this call has gotten a gift that probably cost $5 and thought, wow, that was so thoughtful, right? Because of what it was. And then we've all gotten expensive gifts that we go, why did they give this to me? Right. So anyway.
Yeah. So I think being present when we're with people is what it comes down to, actually being there, not just there in body, but also in mind and spirit, and really listening to people and understanding what they're about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not just going through a transaction to get to the end of the transaction, but be there to understand, learn, and get to know your client.
Yep. Correct.
Love it. Love it. So I know one of the big things for you also is sphere. You do a lot with your sphere in terms of, a lot of your deals come from your sphere. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I mean, when you start in real estate, every real estate broker coach will tell you your highest and best clients are your people you know and that know and like you already. And I think we all, and myself included, get very distracted with all the shiny objects around us about internet leads and this lead and that lead and Zillow and blah, 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 blah. And we end up spending so much time and money and probably not converting anywhere near what we should, where that money turned around, put into events and experiences and overall experience of interacting with you to the people that already know and like us could just create that much more of a return. And, you know, I say return like we're all business focused, right? We all want to make money we want to make money in what we're doing, but the return isn't only financial, it's longer term relationships, you know. And I think a lot of us in this room have relationships with clients that maybe started as clients that we're now friends with, you know, and I think that's so cool. And if we just keep focusing on the next shiny object, I think we lose that opportunity. And so, you know, my network here is I coached soccer for 15 years. I coached at a Catholic private school. I have a great network there. Not only clients, but like one of my new agents is somebody I worked with at that school for years. And it's because we put a lot of stock into relationships, and the business follows, you know.
I love that. So again, going back to relationships and just diving deeper in with the people that you know, like, and trust.
Don't make it overcomplicated. I mean, you know, I in one of the classes I teach, I talk about scripts, right? And we're not supposed to use scripts anymore because scripts get everybody in trouble. But conversations build relationships. And that to me is one of the best lines is conversations build relationships. Don't worry about scripting. Don't worry about what you're supposed to say at the right moment. Have a conversation, ask how they're doing, ask how their wife is, their ex-husband, their kids, whatever. And they start to understand that you're much more concerned about the relationship you have with them than getting a commission check. Because remember, when you're scripting, you pick up the phone and you go, hey, John, haven't talked to you in 3 months. How you doing? And John goes, oh, he wants another commission. It's exactly what he's calling me for, right? You know, one of the lead gen things we do is we go through Facebook and we message our friends. We don't mention real estate once. That commission breath is real. It's a real thing.
Right.
Anyway.
So how do you stay in touch with the sphere, which continues to grow, obviously, as you add more people into your past clients that you've adopted now into friends? So how do you stay in touch with your sphere without coming across like a used car salesperson?
I think it's one of the biggest challenges. It's one of the biggest challenges we face as a business.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the amount of people you interact with on a regular basis and how many times you talk to somebody and you don't go in your car and take notes on what the conversation was. And so like right now we're about to do our VIP event in May, and my wife and I were going through lists yesterday, and just having that organized list, think about the amount of people you know that you could probably help if you just communicated with them regularly. So I think really having a setup, and we're headed back to Command. We were with another CRM, but Command is starting to you know work well, and so we're headed back there. But getting into that system and really staying true to a system, and it doesn't have to be overcomplicated, but just making sure that on a fairly regular basis you're putting yourself in front of those people. I also think with video on social media, you can do a lot of it without being so direct. Mm-hmm. So the reason I believe in video on Facebook and Instagram is that you can indirectly communicate what you're doing, how successful you are, how great you are at what you do, without calling and going, hey, I'm really good at what I do. Can you please make sure you use me next time? Right. So that's a really good way to do it. And I think it can make a big difference without it being so used car salesman, right? Throwing it in people's face. Remember, social media is great because you can put everything out there, and people that don't want to pay attention to it don't have to.
Right. And I feel like even without video, but just with social media, people feel like they know you, even if they don't know you. Now, you know, ramp it up a notch and put that video out there, and now they really feel like they know you. Like they actually think that they're friends with you, even though you're not. It's amazing how it creates a relationship without you ever having a conversation.
Absolutely. And that's our job. And, that was, I think, one of the ways I grew as an agent was that without even realizing what I was doing, every day I was putting something on social media about what I was doing every day in the beginning. In the beginning, I was acting like I was selling 100 homes a year, okay, on the social media, because I would go into a house and everything funny I would see, I would take a picture of it. And then I would recycle that as many times as I needed to, right? Because who cares? They don't know. They don't know if it's today. Oh, that's the same house you took a picture of yesterday. They don't know. So I would have pictures and I would go, oh, well, I'm going to post that one tomorrow. And then the next day I'm going to post this one. Well, your network starts to go, geez, he's selling a house every day. He's like out all the time, right? And maybe I was, maybe I wasn't, but that wasn't really important.
Right.
You can control the narrative of who you are and what you want people to understand and know about you. And I'm not saying you're lying, you're not, but control the narrative. If you're not doing anything and you want to be doing something, you need to convince people that they should work with you. And everybody can answer this question. Do you want to work with somebody that's good at their job or bad at their job? It's a pretty simple answer.
I love it. I love it. So last question, and then I'm going to open it up for questions. I know you run a team. So how do you manage your team to make sure that your luxury standards are being met every day with all the members on your team?
So, one of the things we do is, I'm the primary listing agent right now for our team. Our team, the majority of agents are I'm going to say inexperienced, but they're gaining experience. They're younger. Some of them are just newer in the business in general. And so we've had a training period, but now I'm seeing that we're starting to kind of tip over now of like, oh, now the experience and the work ethic is coming together. So I like to be the one that's in front of most sellers in that price range. Like that's kind of where I want to live. There are things, and look, we can get on these calls all day and you can look at me and go, oh, he's got everything buttoned up. We don't. I can promise you we're as much of a disaster as everybody else is on this call. And that's totally fine. Like we all live there. I was talking to somebody the other day who was saying it's amazing how you look at like the best companies and their outside looks amazing and the inside is a complete and utter disaster, right? And that's normal. So for us, we're learning, I think, on how to have those systems in place. But ultimately, over communicating seems to solve a lot of problems. So that I think is we like to hide from things when, oh crap, we screwed up. I don't want to talk to this person. But Sandra, you were at the luxury panel, right?
Yes.
Okay. Brady brought up a comment that it was brilliant to me. He said they were looking at customer retention, and it wasn't luxury. It was just in general, customer retention in transactions in general, whether it's car sales or any transaction. So if there's no mistakes made, it's just a smooth transaction, customer retention just stays level. If a mistake is made by admin or salesperson and not acknowledged, customer retention like drops through the floor. If a mistake is made, acknowledged, and fixed, retention goes up by 60%. If that doesn't tell you that you're better off having a mistake being made and you having this amazing hero moment where you fix it and make them so happy, that's better than you being perfect at your job. And I think that psychology is so important to know, that the recovery is so much more important than the actual immediate action. So, how do we do it? I'm not 100% sure. We're working on it. And it'll be a work in progress, and I'm open to ideas.
Matt, I love how honest you are. And I love that you shared that story, because I know I've got a few team members on my call here right now that absolutely needed to hear that. They needed to hear that it's okay to make a mistake, but it's all in how you fix it.
Recover.
So thank you for mentioning that. We will be probably having a conversation about that tomorrow on our team call.
That's good.
All right. So let's just open it up for some questions. I'm not so great at reading the chat because my contacts are not working so good, but Kina, can you help us out?
Sure. So let's go back at the beginning. Someone asked about your package. Would you be willing to share your package with the attendees?
Yeah, if you email me, I'll do that. I don't have it here with me, but I'm happy to put some stuff together. And we use the listing presentation off KW Hub. Okay, so through Command, we edit it for ourselves and we put it in a hardcover book. And And then the video presentations, you can Google how to find those. Most of them come from China, and they take a month or two to get to you, but and they're not cheap. They're $100 or so a pop. So you start adding that into your lead gen budget. And then we do a letter personalized to the seller, and we're very much, the goal for us is that they call us, not that we have to call them, and so we try to say to them, if you like what you see, here's my number, and we're not going to be the annoying one calling you 27 times a day.
Matt,
Okay.
real quick, are you, when you send that stuff out, are you giving them any feedback on their home, or is it really pretty generic? Like, I'm not investigating your house first, I'm just sending it and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah, because what we do is the homes that we don't think we can sell, we don't even go after.
Got it.
We just don't mess around. It's not worth the energy. Bob Lucido, if anybody knows Bob Lucido, from Maryland, I was the first luxury mastermind I ever went to. He was running it, and it changed everything about how I approached luxury. And he started talking about expireds. And he said, in luxury real estate, or in general, what do you say? In luxury real estate, it's better to be firstborn, the second husband, and the third listing agent. And I laughed because he said, look, every one of these properties is overpriced, every single one. And he's like, they are overvalued. The amazing fire pit they put outside, the next buyer could care less about it. It's not worth what they spent on it. And every single seller thinks that what they spent equals what the house is worth.
Mhm.
And it's just not. It's different in the $700,000 house where the range of what you can spend is different. And most sellers don't spend $1 million on a pool in a $700,000 house. That would be insane, right? But in a $4 million house, they might spend $1 million on their pool because they wanted their own grotto. And the next buyer goes, I don't even want your pool, right? So that's where you find this massive discrepancy in price. So.
Right. Got it. Thanks for clarifying on that.
Okay, so do you film a video for each of your prospects, a different video?
So initially I tried to, it became a massive headache, editing and whatever. And then if I wasn't feeling it that day, I couldn't make a good video. And so then it wouldn't happen and the video wouldn't get sent out. So I ended up having a video made of me just kind of generally introducing me and the team. And I put that in the presentation.
Perfect. Okay. The next question is virtual staging valuable?
I think yes, if it's done right. It's a nightmare if it's not. We've all seen the pictures where it looks like your 4-year-old drew a chair in the picture, right? It's that bad. My photographer happens to be very good with his virtual staging, but I've seen a bunch of others that I go, come on, like it's not even close, right? This isn't paint by numbers. So I think it's valuable to a certain extent, but I want this to be really clear. When you go after your $2, $3, $4 million listing, you better have an expectation that you're going to spend money. You can't think that it's going to be, and a lot of agents do this. They take the listing and their marketing, their system is the exact same for that and a $300,000 condo. You're now not playing on the same playing field. And so is virtual staging, it's cheap, but in a $4 million house, is virtual staging going to help you? I don't think it will. I would almost rather say to you, spend a couple $1,000s and do 2 or 3 rooms. And Sandra, you might have a similar, you might do a different. That's the way I would look at it, is say, look, I don't have $10,000 to do the whole house, but maybe I have, hey, foyer, family room, dining room, we can do that. And the rest of the house can kind of stay empty or whatever, right? But you've got to invest that money. And so it just depends on how you want to invest it and where you think you're going to get the most bang for your buck.
Yeah, Matt, we totally agree with you. That's how we do it. We would pick and choose the rooms, and it's got to be the right house for it. We do some virtual staging. One of the last ones we did, we tried somebody new and it looked like all the furniture was floating.
Yeah.
It looked crazy. We're like, oh, okay, that's not going to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually, I have somebody, a friend of mine is actually in South Florida and has a condo on the market. And we were talking and I actually asked her, I said, is it staged or is it virtually staged photos? And it actually wasn't, but the way the pictures were done, the furniture looked fake.
Oh, wow.
It drew the attention away from the condo. That's like a $3 million condo. So I thought that was kind of interesting too, that the pictures actually made it look fake, which actually detracted away from the property.
Right, right. Yep, photos are very important. Do we
Okay,
got other questions in there?
yes, we do. Alrighty, can you share more about your upcoming event?
Sure. Yeah, so we like to do, for a while, we were very kid and family based. We thought, hey, family is the way to go. And then COVID hit and we can only do certain things. So our first couple VIP events were actually like a fall festival, which in Virginia is cool because it's kind of getting cold, but it's not like really cold, like where I grew up. So we would have like bounce houses and food trucks would come in and all that. What we realized was that at the end of the day, our clientele are parents, right? And they're parents and they're adults and they want to enjoy kind of a fun evening. So last year we did the first one where we went to a vineyard, and we're in Virginia wine country. So there's vineyards everywhere and most of them have amazing views. And so we got one that had a beautiful pavilion. We had a band and we did like charcuterie board tables, like not little boards, but like where they do the entire 8-foot table of all food. And we set it up where it's, it's in May on a Friday night. And so ours is coming up and we give everybody a bottle of wine they take home with them and some stuff from us. And again, we don't talk about real estate. We just thank them for being a part of our lives and our world. And we hire a band and and people like to party. Like, what is the line that nobody wants to be sold? People hate being sold, but they love shopping with friends, right? I would argue if you just create an event where it's not about you and not about business, and you focus on how are people going to just have fun, they view you as, oh my God, our real estate agent invites us to his party every year. And like, it's fun. And you want them to view you positively, not negatively. And I think that's your main goal. And if that happens, everything else kind of follows in line.
So Matt, thank you. I've added that to my calendar for May. I'll see you in May.
Yeah, come on.
I'm excited.
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Love cheese and wine. That's my thing. Question, how many on average people do you invite and what percentage shows up?
So I think the stat is for everybody you invite to these events, if you're 2 to 3 months out, you get what, like 40-50% actually come. So I think we're about to invite 400. I think that's probably what we're putting out. I know we were doing invitations last. I have terrible handwriting, which is a good thing. If you don't want to write invitations, just have terrible handwriting. Nobody lets you write anything on envelopes. But yeah, I think this year probably 450 is what we'll invite. Last year was our first one. We had about 120 people there, but we did it late. Like all of us, unorganized, right? So we came up with it and then we launched it and we were like, oh crap, we're like 30 days out and we're inviting people. This year we set it back in November. So we had the date, and slowly all of us as agents have been texting our clients going, hey, put May 13th on your calendar. I'll tell you why later, but just put it on your calendar. So the invites should go out here this week, or at least to save the dates. So
that's great. Matt, I feel like you're describing my life as you're talking about the, just trying to get things organized. And it's like our brain goes faster than we can actually keep up with things.
Yep. 100%.
So I was going to ask a question about the event that I lost track of it. Let's go on to the chat. I lost my train of thought there.
So talking about being organized, one agent asked, are you doing anything to get better at organizing, or are you just choosing instead to focus on your strengths?
No, look, most of our admin staff is hired specifically to take me out of the equation. Okay, that's just a reality. We are, when we are recruiting not only agents but administrative team, they are largely, we look at them and go, okay, how are they the yin to my yang? Because I can handle the yang, but I can't handle everything else. So everybody on our team knows that their job is to keep me kind of headed in one direction. And they know that if I'm working in one direction, everything else will kind of work out, right? If they can handle what comes. I'm the one that's going out and, I'll get listings, but I need to know that the minute I come and I say, hey, listing signed, you got this, I'm out. Like, I'm on to the next one. And so I think that you hire for your weaknesses. You don't hire for your strengths, right? If you hire for your strengths, a lot of times you're putting somebody else like you in the room, and that doesn't always work really well. Like I'm more of an alpha, like I kind of want to be running the show, but I don't want to be responsible for a lot of the craziness that I have that goes on in real estate. So absolutely working on it. I also know that there's a reality to who I am as a person. And if you expect me to change, it's probably not going to happen. Especially if I'm being forced into a change. The change is, how do I set up a world? I was kind of talking about this like with kids. You set up the playpen, and they can do whatever they want in the playpen, but they can't move the playpen. I just need to know that the playpen is set up because I'm going to operate how I'm going to operate, and expecting me to be totally different than who I am would not only be a bad idea, but it probably would also hurt the business if I did change.
I like that, Matt. So who on your team is there one person in charge of your events?
Yeah, right now it's my wife. My wife is one of the most organized people. Has everybody here done a KPA?
Yes.
Okay, so the job fit match, that page where it tells you like, and it's usually like 3 or 4 things or maybe 2 things that you're a high match for. Her entire first page is high match, the entire first page. So she doesn't have an active role day to day in the business, but with events, that's kind of her world. She knows how to put on great parties. So she's the one that kind of handles that. And again, you probably know event planners. You
Right.
probably know them. I bet you if you connected with an event planner that you really liked and you said, hey, listen, I'm going to tell my entire network how great you are, and they're probably going to hire you to do parties for them. Can you help me organize my party for free or whatever? They'll probably do it. And they can be there meeting all your clientele as well. So if it's not your strength, just bring somebody in that's what they really love doing.
Love that. Awesome. Thank you. Kina?
Alrighty. Excuse me. What are your top 3 most important things you do when spending money on marketing a listing?
So I believe the presentation of a property is the most important thing. So I spend a lot on video. The last video we did was a $7,000 video. I brought in models to be a part of the video. Not models like underwear models, like actors that were doing stuff, because the property happens to be one where it's kind of being used as an event center. And so I set the dream of it being an event center. So that's where I spend a lot of our money. And then I use our luxury ambassador network and our KW luxury network to really press the property and push it out to the market. But video is where I spend money.
Okay, next.
Are you usually in your videos, Matt?
When my photographer lets me. I find on the higher end ones, he lets me have a cameo, and that's about it.
But you're not allowed to talk. You just walk through and you're not allowed to talk.
My last one, we had a guy and a girl that were actors, and they were supposed to be married and having an evening at the property. And I was allowed to be the bartender pouring him a drink, and that was it. But the best one that I did, it was the first time we ever used outside people for a video. We had a really high-end condo in the Tyson's Corner area. And I had these 2 young, they were like 22 years old each, and they were models. And it was selling the life of like the young, rich couple that was living in this beautiful condo with beautiful views. And I was in twice, one pouring them a drink, and then at the end they were playing pool, and I was in the background, and I had a bottle of champagne and I was pouring it in my mouth as like the bartender that was having a drink. And I got more feedback of that because people were like, what the hell am I watching? You're in the background, dude. But that's typically what I'm allowed to be in. But
that's awesome.
Do you use Command, Matt?
So yeah, we're headed back to Command now.
Okay.
We're I think we're transitioning literally like today and tomorrow.
Good luck. That's going to be fun.
This is why I'm not involved in it.
Okay, 2 more questions. One is, you said that you had a humble upbringing. How did you get your mindset right, build your confidence to believe that you in fact belonged in luxury?
You have to act as if you belong there. If you don't feel like you belong there, they're not going to believe you belong there. It doesn't matter where you grew up. I know an agent right now in the Northeast who's like 21 years old, and he's getting into that market because he walks in and acts like he owns the place. Your confidence will change everything, right? Have you ever been on a date and you're not confident that the person wants to be there? They probably don't want to be there. right? But if you walk in and you're confident about who you are, they probably that is a feeling that starts to spread. And I realized early when I went into listing appointments that I had to literally walk in like I owned a place, and I walked in as if it was already my listing. We were not talking about, do you want to work with me? It was, when we go to market, here's what we're doing. Right. And so I think in general, sales is that you are in a sales industry, you are selling to sellers, you're selling to buyers, you're selling to other agents. Any negotiation where you don't seem like you have a grasp on what that negotiation is, you're probably going to lose it. So I think confidence is all of it. And somewhat excitement about it. When I started, I was like, what the hell am I doing in this house? Why is it so big? Who needs this amount of space? But I kind of was like, man, if I get this would be so cool. And like, who cares? I have nothing to lose, and so again, going in with the mindset of, one, I belong here. Two, I have nothing to lose if I don't get it. You're no problem, right? Right. You ask the girl at the bar and you don't really care if she says yes or no, but you're going to take your shot. Well, if she says yes, great. She says no, well, you continue on with your evening. So
I love that. I love that. And Matt, I always tell my team, if you don't ask the question, the answer is always no.
Correct.
So you have to ask for it. Otherwise, the answer is no. All right, Kina, we got another one?
Yes. So both of them, it has to do with your marketing still. What kind of marketing do you do for a luxury listing? Type of walkthrough video, Matterport, drones, a custom website, neighborhood postcard, etc. What do you do?
All of it. You got to do all of it. I think you have to do all of it. I mean, again, if anybody knows Jeff Yarborough out in Beverly Hills, big luxury agent, works with a lot of kind of famous people and entertainment people. He says that he uses a 7% number of what his commission will be. So 7% of that commission should go towards advertising, marketing, staging, getting the, as the expense towards the property. So for any of these properties, I think 3D is a big deal. We don't use Matterport, we use a different company, but that's fine. Matterport's good. Drones, absolutely. Like, your photographer should have all of these for you. You should not worry about any of these things, right? We go to our photographer and say, we have a $2 million property we're going to list. It's one package and everything gets done. You should be doing reels for social media. Just remember that the marketing you do on these properties is supposed to do two things, not one. Yes, it's supposed to help sell the house. It's supposed to brand and put out your image to the market that you want to attract. Okay, sometimes we get so focused on just selling the house, we lose the fact that everything we're doing is branding ourselves. And so take the opportunity, spend the extra couple $100 on a video for your property, and do a reel that you can put on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok. That helps you, right? And a little neighborhood website that has that on there, that maybe a neighbor goes, you know what, that they're doing a lot on that property, and they go to it and they see how well you're doing. If that helps answer that question.
No, that's a great answer. That was like a double whammy right there. We got the double information. And it is so true. It's so important that it's not just about the property. It's also about what is it that you're doing? How are other people seeing you and what you're doing? Not just your one seller.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. So I think we're about done. We're done with questions, Kata?
Yes, we're good. One other question was about the package. What is exactly in the package? But all they have to do is email you and you'll send that information over. So
we'll give them some info. Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Matt, thank you so much. I love your honesty. I love your energy. I think we've all learned a lot here, myself included. Absolutely. So I'm super excited that you came here today. Can you just tell everybody how they can reach you so that if they want to send you a referral, they can do that?
So how about this? I'm going to put, I'll put it in the chat. I'll put my Instagram. Let me see. Agent Matt, KW81 is my Instagram. And yeah, I'm in the Northern Virginia, DC market. And We serve Northern Virginia, which is basically all the way down to not Richmond, but just close of that. And DC, Maryland, and actually West Virginia as well. And my cell phone number is 703-400-7012. Yeah, and we'd love to help. And I've been out teaching regularly. I've been in South Florida multiple times over the last couple of months, which is great. I never have a problem going down there. So yeah, any questions, please reach out. You know, we'd love to help answer any questions that you may have. And really thank you for having me on.
Well, thank you. And what your Instagram followers are going to jump up today after this.
Love it.
So that's awesome. And I look forward to seeing you hopefully soon in person.
Absolutely. I'll call you when I come down.
Definitely. Thank you so much,
All
Matt.
right.
And thanks everybody else for joining us. Take care.
Thank you,
See you
Matt.
guys.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye.